Hey everyone, welcome to the Coaching Edge Weekly. I'm Kayla Burch. I'm the founder of the Coaching Mastery Academy and the creator of the Trigger Response Method. And this is a space that we come to every single Wednesday at noon Central Time to talk about all the stuff in the industry that actually makes you a better coach. So, really excited to get into it today. So while people are dropping in, we're getting settled in. I always like to kick it off with some industry like updates that every coach needs to know that you need to be paying attention to right now, because these are the things that are happening in our space that are really going to directly affect your career, your clients, how you position yourself going forward. So we'll always kick it off that way as well, just so you guys know the framework and the way that we do this. So after that, we're going to get into our main topic today. And today, what we're talking about is why most coaches cannot get their clients unstuck. It's like my favorite topic, because, well, I'll get into why it's my favorite topic in a minute. But this is where good coaches, coaches who care, coaches who are doing everything that they were taught, that their clients are still running those same patterns week after week. So I'm going to show you exactly where that gap is. And I'm also going to help walk you through what that looks like from knowing, I'm going to help you understand the one question that you need to know and that you can ask in every single question. That's going to shift from just creating awareness to actually creating change that lasts, right? So stay with me as we get into it. One of the things I want to talk about first in the industry itself is the growth of the industry. And you're going to hear me talk about this a lot because it's a really key point in what we're doing, what we're building, what's happening, and also the lack of trust in the industry. So the coaching industry itself is actually projected to hit a 20 billion is projected to hit 20 billion globally. So more coaches than ever are entering the market, like more at any point in history. The ICF just reported record numbers of credential coaches worldwide, which sounds great, right? But do you know what more credentialed coaches means? It means that all that means is that they went through a certification program. They checked a couple of boxes, they paid for some letters, and now a lot of them have no idea what to do when a client brings something real into a session, when they're bringing their trauma and their drama into that sessions. And I'm not saying that credentials don't matter, right? My credentials matter to me and I take them seriously. I have my own coaching certification where I certify coaches. That those things matter. The credentials do matter. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about what type of certification did you get, because they're not at all. Nobody is monitoring that, right? So you can go to a weekend course and get certified. So that's what we're talking about here. And this is what's important for you to know. More coaches are getting certified. You got certified, right? Great. Now what? Do you actually know what to do to move somebody to a different place? Do you know what to do when someone's sitting right in front of you and they're struggling? Are those some things that you are aware of? Like, can you walk somebody through that? That's what's really important here. And that's the thing that I want to make sure that you understand as we get into this today. So, credentials don't make you a good coach, and we're just going to call it what it is. Whether you like to hear that or not, it's the truth. So, this is exactly why, because second thing I want to talk about, and then we'll get into our topic today, is that there's this growing conversation, especially on LinkedIn and different communities, about accountability for outcomes in the coaching industry. So clients are really starting to ask harder questions before they hire coaches. So what results have your clients actually gotten is something that's more common? What are your certifications? Are you accredited? The buyer themselves, the client themselves, are much more aware. So this is actually a really good thing in the coaching industry. And even though a lot of coaches might panic about it, it means the market is starting to demand what should have always been a standard. And that's what we need to really understand. And this is not about that coaching actually works. Because if you're here, you know that. If you're a coach, you know that. It's not about if coaching felt good, because that doesn't matter either. It's not that the client had a powerful experience, that they reached insight, right? They cried and we call it transformation. That's not what it's about. It's the thing that they hired you for, to help them change and to get an outcome. Are you actually reaching that? And that is a big conversation, because most people are not doing that. Most people are not. There's no actual behavioral shifts. There's no actual change. It's just awareness. So that's what we're actually going to talk about today. We're talking about the industry, and now we're going to get into everything that I just described, the saturation, the coaches that can't back up the results. That is what is actually, it all comes back to one thing. It all comes back to there's a gap in the methodology that almost nobody is teaching, that nobody's talking about. It's what I talk about all the time. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So your client has a breakthrough in a session, right? So think about the last session you had, the breakthrough, what they experienced. Could be a real one. You could see it on their face, you could hear it in their voice. They got quiet, they maybe had a breakthrough, maybe they were crying, maybe like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the most powerful conversation they've ever had. Right? You know that, you see that, you experience that. They came back the next week and they're still running that exact same pattern. Right? So you say, check in, how's your week? What did you do? Next week, it's the exact same thing. Right? So now what do? You smile, right? You held the space and you said, it's okay, right? Okay, so let's see what's going on. You start over from the beginning again, probably again, honestly. So I want to talk about why that keeps happening. Why that right there, not the version where you blame the client for being resistant, where you blame the client for not doing what they were supposed to do in between the sessions, right? That's not what we're doing here. Not where you're just saying that they're not ready, because this happens a lot. I see this and I hear this a lot in the coaching industry with coaches, especially new coaches. Or actually, take that back, any coach, right? I hear it across the board. We want to talk about the real version here, the one that has to do with what you were taught and what you weren't taught, and the gap between where those two things lives, because nobody gave you a map of what happens after the breakthrough. Think about it. If you were certified, you likely were certified to get the insight. They taught you how to create the insight. They taught you how to ask really good questions to get an insightful breakthrough. They didn't teach you what to do, and the insight doesn't change anything, because it doesn't. Insight doesn't do anything. You'll hear me say this over and over and over and over again. I will never stop saying it. So we're going to get into what you do after that. So we'll start at the beginning here, because it's going to be important for you to recognize this and understand how we got here to begin with. So most coaches, when they get trained, they're taught a version of the same thing. Ask powerful questions, create awareness, hold space for the insight. That's it. That's the model, right? The belief underneath it is that if a client can see their pattern clearly enough, they will naturally change. And listen, that model, it works. Like it does work, but it only works up to a certain point, because awareness is important. I'm not standing here telling you like, hey, awareness is worthless, because it's not. Awareness is how the work begins, but it's the beginning, right? It's how somebody can even recognize that they have a pattern worth addressing. But this is what nobody tells you. This is the thing that I really want you to sit with today, is that awareness is not how you change, right? It's not the mechanism for change. Awareness is an invitation to change. And those two things absolutely are not the same thing. So think about how many people you've met in your life, like maybe even including yourself, probably including yourself if you're being honest, who are completely, deeply, painfully aware of a pattern that they cannot stop running, the thing that they keep doing. They know they shut down in conflict. They know that they self-sabotage when things start going really well. They know they over-explain. They know that they over-apologize. They know that they're shrinking themselves in rooms where they need to take up more space. They know, right? They've known for years. So some of them have known since childhood. Think about that. So awareness cannot be the problem, can it? Right? Because they're still doing it. They're still doing the same behavior. So when a client sits across from you on Zoom, in person, on the phone, whatever, right? And they have this really big, beautiful breakthrough where they see themselves clearly for maybe the first time. And you feel that the session where it starts to shift, and you both know something just landed, right? Like, oh my God, that was such an important breakthrough. And then they come back next week, nothing's changed. So the question you need to be asking is, why isn't this client changing? It's not that, sorry. You don't need to be asking why the client is not changing. The question is, what were you supposed to do after the awareness that you didn't know how to do? Because that's why they're not changing, right? So if you ask the question, why is the client not changing? Hey, it's because there's still more work to do, right? So this is what I like to call awareness versus intervention. And that's the gap. It's the most common ceiling in coaching, right? As a coach, like the reason why you're not as good as you can be is because of this right here. And there's always a next level, right? Always a next level. So this is the part that changes absolutely everything that ties us together. And it's the fact that every pattern has a payoff, every single one of them. And I don't mean the payoff in a good way. I mean, your client's brain is getting something, your brain is getting something out of staying stuck. And until you help them see what that is, they're going to keep choosing that same pattern, no matter how many breakthroughs that they have. Like, I'll give you an example. So let's think about this. You have a client who wants to grow their business. It's an easy one, right? They tell you every single session, it's their goal. That's why they came to you. That's why they hired you. Maybe you are a business coach, right? So they're paying you to help them get there. That's the outcome that they want. And yet every single week they have a new reason why they didn't do the things that they said they were going to do. And every week the conversation goes back to awareness. Back to, okay, what's getting in the way? Back to identifying the pattern, back to, oh, they feel super motivated and inspired because maybe they have a little more insight, but then nothing moves, nothing changes. So you're probably calling that resistance. Maybe you're calling it fear of success or fear of failure, whatever. Or maybe they're just not ready. And the thing is that you're not wrong. Fear is involved. But the real question is, what is staying small protecting them from? What is staying in that pattern protecting them from? Because it's always protecting them from something: safety, certainty, the possibility of trying and fully failing, right? Those are the things that it's protecting them from. So the visibility that comes with success and what that visibility might cost them, the identity they've built around being that person who almost made it, the relationship that might change if they change, there's something in there. Right. In the awareness conversation, the let's explore what's getting in the way conversation, it circles around the outside of that right there. It can get really close to it. It can name it. But again, like we've been talking about, naming it is not the same as interrupting it. And so that pattern is going to keep running, and it's going to keep running, right? It's going to just keep going and going and going until the interruption happens. I want you to really understand that. This is why clients can be the most self-aware people that you've ever met. We all have them, incredibly self-aware clients, and they still don't change a damn thing. They still don't change because awareness lives in the conscious mind, and the pattern that they're running is in a place that the conscious mind cannot reach just by understanding it. Do you guys get that? Really important that you understand these connections. So what do you actually do about this? So I'm going to give you a framework around this to help you, right? And it's going to shift the way you think about every session from here on out if you actually apply it, right? That's the thing. You also have to apply this too. So there's a moment in every single there's a moment in every single pattern. Like there's that split second between that trigger and their response. That's where my entire method is, right? It's between trigger and response. That's why it's called the trigger response method. So something happens, something is said, something is felt, and then there's this tiny window before that habitual response kicks in, before that shutdown, before the self-sabotage, before whatever, before the spiral, before the overthinking, whatever that is for the individual. There's a window, there's a choice in there. And there's more that goes to this, but we're specifically talking about the choice today. It's a choice point. In most coaching, it's happening nowhere near that choice point. Most coaching is happening in a calm, reflective session, days, weeks, years, whatever, right? After that pattern is ran. And so you're trying to build awareness off of something that the client has already moved on from. Like they're not currently feeling it, right? So the insight's real, the learning is real, but by the time your client is back in that triggering situation, all of that calm session insight is completely inaccessible to them because they're not in that same position. Their brain is doing what it's always doing. It's kicking into the familiar. So real change happens at the choice point in and of itself, not before it, not after it, when the pattern is live. And then we get to create this choice. When the trigger has happened and the habitual response is starting to like come up, it's starting to load, you're starting to just do it without even thinking. There's that tiny window where a different choice is actually available. The work of a skilled coach is to help that client recognize that window, to slow it down, to make a different choice in real time, not process it later, not understand it better. It's to interrupt it right then, right there. And this is the part that takes training. This is the part that takes methodology. And this is the part that you can't just figure out by asking better questions or holding better space. Trust me, because AI will 100% replace you if you're just asking good questions and holding space. I promise. That's not a fear tactic. It's just true. Right? So you have to know what you're looking for. You have to know how to be in a session when a pattern like it starts to get fired and you can't back off from it. Not redirecting to processing, not validating the client into feeling better without actually moving them. You have to be able to stay in it right then, right there at the very edge of that pattern so they can make a different choice. That's exactly why I built the trigger response method. It's not to create more awareness. It's not to help clients understand their patterns at a deeper level either. It's to help interrupt the pattern itself at the moment it's running. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to teach you all the different things that you could do here every single week, every single Wednesday. But I want to show you like what I want to give you an example. So I was listening to a call recently and of a coach. She's actually a very skilled coach. Um, very good at seeing patterns, very good at it. Picks up on things fast, connects dots, can identify what a client is doing and why within just a few minutes of a session. And listening to this call, I was just getting so frustrated because she was so close to the thing. She was so spot on with the pattern itself, but this is what happened every single time. This is where she was losing it the entire session. Is that once you see the pattern, she would tell the client what the pattern was. Just tell them, just explaining it, walks through it, the pattern. This is what you're doing. This is why you're doing it, educates them on their own behavior. And the client is sitting there nodding, like, oh my God, yes, you're right. I do that. I do that. I've always done that. And then the coach keeps going deeper into explanation, adding more layers, more context, more clarity. You see where we're going with this? Because what I want you to hear about what's actually happening in that very moment right there is the client is not changing. The client is just accumulating more freaking awareness of a pattern that they already know that they had. And now they just have a better vocabulary for it. They have another label for it, but nothing's actually moved. More awareness without intervention, like we've been talking about all day, does not just stall the change. It can actually make things worse. And I promise you it does. And it will. Because now the client understands their pattern at a deeper level and still cannot stop running it. That breeds shame. That breeds frustration. That internal voice that says, I know exactly what I'm doing and I still can't stop. What's wrong with me? Why does nothing I do work? It works for everybody else, but it didn't work for me. So be honest, you did not help them. You educated them into a more articulate version of stuck. And that might be hard to hear as a coach because you feel so accomplished. You feel so good. But the shift is not in the telling. It is not the client understanding more, I promise. It is in finding the payoff, getting to the choice point, and interrupting that pattern while it's live. This is what moves people. This is what it's about. This is what you have to do. Right? So this is what I want you to take from today. More awareness will not make more success. Don't blame your client for being resistant. Don't say that they're not ready. Don't say that they're stuck, right? That's not it. Right? What it is they need to have a better understanding of what they're gaining and what they need to choose differently. So I want to give you your edge for the week. This is something that you can take into absolutely every single session with you. You can use it right now. You can use it on your session later today. So the next time a client comes and they tell you that there's a pattern, that there's something that's coming up for them, instead of going deeper into the awareness around it, instead of asking what triggered it, where it came from, how long they've had it, especially if you already know, right? You need to ask them this one question. What are you getting from this pattern that you're not willing to give up yet? Not in a way that shames them. You need to lead with curiosity, because the answer to that question, that's where the real work will live. That's the payoff. That's the thing that's keeping that pattern in place. And that's the moment that your client really needs. And if your client can answer that honestly, and they can start answering it honestly, and you can lead with more curiosity in that, you're no longer doing just awareness work. You're in the intervention work, which is what we want. We want an intervention-based coaching versus awareness-based coaching. That's your edge for the week. So go use that. And let me know next Wednesday what happened when you did. All right, so if you want to go deeper into what we've covered here today, if you want to actually learn the methodology, if you want to get certified in the trigger response method, there's two ways to do that. You can just grab this link that I'm going to drop in the chat here, where you can check out the Coaching Mastery Academy. You can look at all the details for that. Or if you know that you're ready, or you know that this might be a good fit for you, you can just jump on a straight on a call with me. I'll drop that link too. So that's all for this week. I can't wait to hear how you guys apply this edge for yourself and your clients and your coaching experiences this week. And I'll see you guys here next time.